Everyone good? Okay. 30-40 minutes and we're done. Alright? And then afterwards, if anyone is interested, I can stay back a little bit. I can show you how to do my rubber band and front teeth. Okay? Now, when we have a case, regardless whether this is a wax up or a direct mock up, or this is an old restoration, or you're using BRB technique, the first thing that you want to do is you want to be able to capture the palatal anatomy of the tooth. Now, this is where you need a putty. You need a good putty material. The putty material that I'm using right now is the GC brand Extra Flex. I said this a while ago, I am not the salesperson for GC. So if there's materials that I like, I will tell you. If there's materials I don't like, I will tell you. Okay? GC has another product called Flexi. It's better than this. I understand that they're bringing it into Vietnam, but you're looking for something that's a bit firmer. This is good, but a bit not as hard. Okay? So if you can, use Flexi. I use another brand as well by BMG called Honeygun. That's very, very firm. So you choose. Okay? But today we're going to use this. This, I want you guys to pay attention. This is how I mix my putty. Put together, fold. Put together, fold. Put together, fold, fold, fold. Again, again, again. When do you stop? You stop when you see the color is the same. There's still two separate colors, so you continue on, you continue on, you continue on, you continue on. Now, once you're done with the mixing, you don't need so much. How much do you need? Around the shape of a grape. Then what you do, you roll it into a ball, and then after you roll the ball, it's nice and smooth, yeah? No lines. What you do now is you put this on the palette, you use your thumb to roll, 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 until it covers the incisal edge. Now, you want it to cover the incisal edge, you don't want it to go over the incisal edge. This is really important. You do not go over the incisal edge. Alright? Now, once you know you're there, you're going to need to do the hardest thing in the world. Don't touch it. We are dentists. We are so used to poking and touching because we're very impatient. It's very important at this stage you wait. Now, when I choose a putty, I like to choose a putty that is snap set, meaning to say it's soft, 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 hard. Okay? The reason why I say I'm not a fan of this one, and I would recommend that you go for the newer, better ones, is because this one takes a long time to set. Okay? So there is a higher chance of distortion. You understand? Right? So now we're going to wait. We're going to wait and wait and wait. Now, how do we know it's set? What do people do? Let me just remove it and put it back, remove it, put it back, remove it, put it back. No. Use your nail, you push, you see the line over there, not yet set. You don't keep on taking it out. If you keep on taking it out, it's distorted, then you don't get a good impression. Understand? Good. So we wait a little bit. While we're waiting, anyone has any questions to ask? Yes?
In case you use the silicone index, like when you doing the isolation, the rubber band will cut the palette.
Yes.
So how can you ensure that it will be fixed properly?
Okay, for rubber dam, because the rubber dam is up, it's up against the gums. When you put this in the mouth of the rubber dam, you just need to use your finger to push. You will see. The only thing is you need to make sure that that doesn't get in the way of the plant. Okay? This is the reason why when you do this putty, you don't need a lot. A lot of times when you put too much, it gets into the way of the plant. Then you have to waste time to cut and cut and cut. Understand? Right? Okay. I think that's okay. Now, then you slowly take it out. Now, what are you looking for? You are looking for a very clear anatomy here. It has to be very clear. Sometimes if you don't do this properly and it doesn't roll, you don't let it roll properly, this is what you sometimes will get. I'm looking for a bad one. You see that? This is happening here, like that. You see that? It's because when you roll, it didn't cover the edge. Can you see that? So, the tooth will look shorter here. You understand? You want to make sure it covers all the way to the edge, but it doesn't lip over. Okay? Good. Now that's done, when you're going to take the tooth out. Now, the first thing that you want to do is that, like you say, you put on your rubber dam, you do your isolation, la 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 la, and then you put this back in the patient's mouth. If you have rubber dam, like your question a while ago, you have to use your finger to push it in. And what you want to make sure is that it's seating very, very well. You want to make sure there is almost no gap over here. You understand? So, once this is done, this is when you can start doing your etch and bond and things like that. Now, let's assume etching is done. Now we're going to do bonding. How do we do bonding? It's the same as a while ago. We're going to use G Premier bond. What did I say is the most important step? Should mix. Alright? Shake, 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 shake. So assume that you've etched, everything is fine, then you put your bonding agent.
Có thể là tôi có tiếp xúc bên để dễ quá.
One, two, three, four, five. Okay, so that's done. We can put the patient aside. We're going to start cleaning the palatal shell. Now, when we do the palatal shell, you don't need a lot. One of the things I've forgotten to do is that I've forgotten where the fracture is. So you may want to do that when you're testing fitting. So you draw a line here. So you have a rough idea of where to build up your filling and fill. This is JE, okay? So this is genial interior, JE. Now you're going to put this on, and you don't need a lot. This, to me, is actually quite a lot already. Never mind. Now, I'm going to introduce you to the paintbrush. This is the paintbrush that I normally use. This is by Scala Italiano. I've used this paintbrush for 11 years now. It's absolutely amazing. How it works is that it has two parts. This is autoclavable. This one is replaceable. You can reuse it a few times. GC has their own paintbrush as well, which is really, really good. A lot cheaper than the Scala Italiano one. Same thing. This is autoclavable. This is replaceable. All right. Now, if you want to save money and you don't want to spend a lot, you can go to the paint shop. You can just buy a normal paintbrush. Just a normal paintbrush. And the normal paintbrush, you're looking for a flat synthetic brush. Flat synthetic brush. Now, then, this is what we call modeling resin. Modeling resin is pure PMMA. Why is this important? We've heard of techniques where we would use to dip our instruments into bonding agent so that the material doesn't stick to our instruments. That's a bad idea if you are using a universal bonding agent, because the universal bond agent will contain things like monomers, etch, so it affects the composite. This is pure PMMA, so it doesn't affect the composite that you're using. Okay? So you dip the brush, you wipe off any excess, and then watch. You're using the brush to flatten the composite. You understand? And you want to try your best to make this as thin as you possibly can. Then use this straight probe to wipe off any excess. Use a straight probe to wipe off any excess. Use a straight probe to wipe off any excess. Okay, I'm going to be out off camera for a second so I can have a closer look. Do something like that. Okay? Now, what you do is put this directly on the tooth. Okay? Before you light cure, use a sharp instrument to make sure that nothing is touching the tooth next door. Alright? And then you light cure. Thank you. Then what I will do, just for added security, is that I would add a very small amount of floral, very small amount, just in the joint over there, to make sure they join together. Okay? Okay. Now, what I have to do is I have to pray really hard that this comes out well. Okay? So that's the shell. Now, remember how I said I don't like this material, the putty, because when it's very soft, it's very hard to remove excess really well. So that's why you get a lot of these flashes. But never mind, you can still do this. So far so good, I'm quite happy with that. Now, then, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build up the walls. Now, nowadays, we have two solutions. This is the same sectional matrix that we used a while ago. Okay, this is the sectional matrix there, like this. Polydentia came up with a new version, which is called the Unica Proximal Anterior Matrices, which is what I'm going to use now. It looks like that. Okay? I feel that this is not absolutely necessary. I like to keep my inventories limited, so if I already am using this for my posterior teeth, I'm going to use this for my anterior teeth. But today, I'm just going to show you how this looks. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use this and insert it in between the teeth there, okay? Now, I'm going to go off camera just for a moment, just because for models, it's a little bit hard for me to apply sometimes. So it looks something like that. Now, just like what I said a while ago, an important factor is to make sure that the edge here is similar to the edge that I'm trying to copy. Okay? So I'll move that up a bit. And that will help me build my wall. Okay so far? Good. Now we're going to start with building the wall right now. Still I'm going to use JE, I'm not going to use too much. I always like to start by placing the material with a flat plastic first to get it roughly in place. Then I would use a micro brush and the modeling resin. Okay? To help me adapt the wall. Now, this wall is meant to be thin. Don't make this wall too thick. Remember, we're placing JE. This is a translucent shade. If I make this wall too thick, what's going to happen? I'm going to end up with a very, very gray corner there, which is going to look ugly and disgusting. Right? Now, once I get this relatively well adapted, you see the excess over there? This is where I'm going to use a probe Now, if you want to, you can go back to the brush to tidy this up. I don't feel that I need to, but that's good. Are we okay so far? Okay. Once that's done, slowly release sectional matrix, and it should look something like that. Are we okay so far? Okay. Now we're going to do the opaque layer. This is AO2. AO2 is A2 opaque, basically. They normally have two shades, AO2 and AO3. I personally would always go for AO2 that has a lower chroma because it's easier for me to make the chroma darker later than making the chroma lighter. That's why when you want to repaint the walls in your house, hello? Okay. That's why, if you want to repaint your house, you want to change the color of the walls, you always change the walls white first and then you change to another color. So I always try and go for material that is lower chroma, so it's easier for me to modify. Now I'm going to place the opaque layer right now. Same thing, I'm going to once I have a rough shape, I go back to the paintbrush, okay? in my opinion, using the paintbrush is easier and gives you better results compared to using a stiff hand instrument. Alright? So what you want to do is you want to create a layer that is smooth. Okay? You want to create a layer that follows the contour of the natural tooth. Yeah? And if you use a hard instrument, it's quite hard to get a nice smooth contour. Look at that. It's very easy, it's very fast. Now, here's the mistake that a lot of people make. Because we are dentists, we're so used to looking at patients in this direction. So it's very hard to tell whether we're overbuilding or underbuilding. So the best way to do this is you have to ask your patients to turn to the left, turn to the right, and more importantly, look up. So you'll be able to see, like here, that's a little bit too fat. So, push it, push it, push it. Push it down. Any excess, you wipe it off. You wipe it off, don't wipe it off in the patient's nose like now. Now, how do I know that opaque layer is enough? I no longer see the line. I no longer see the crack line already. To me, that's enough. If you can still see the crack line, you add more opaque layer. That's it. So the opaque layer is there to block the transition. Understand? I'm going to go off camera for a second. Now, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the mamelons, right? So I know this one has 3 mamelons, so I'm going to recreate that. You have to go all the way to the palatal shell. You see that? So you want to make sure, even at this stage, it's still not overbuilt. But I know now that I have space for adequate translucency around the edge. Okay? Thank you. I'm now going to put A2. A2 is the transition. If, say, for example, I need to change my chroma at this stage, this is the time to do so. But in this stage, I don't. I'll stick with A2. And I'm going to focus my A2 on the incisal mid-third. So I don't want to use it to cover the incisal edge. I'll cover this part over here. Alright? So I'm just going to put a little bit. I'm also going to use the A2 to cover the gaps in my mamelon. And I'll go back to the paintbrush. This is why I really love the modern resin, okay? This is absolutely required when I'm doing interior restorations, okay? So I want to try and do this as well as I can. So I will need to adjust so much later on. Now, once I'm roughly there, again, what do? Chin up, I move to the left. Ooh, that's a bit fat there, okay? Move to the right, okay. So, I just need to make some slight adjustments to remove the excess. Make sure every step you do, you make sure that you're removing excess. Then you check. You check the top, you check the side, you check the side. So there's still a little bit of space there. Can you see that? That's where we're going to add my enamel layer. You see that? So that's where we're going to add my enamel layer. But I want to make sure my middle third is close, is very close, yeah? So I'm just going to be off camera for 2 seconds just to be sure. And then lighter. Then I put the JE again. The J is the final layer. I don't need to add so much. But all I'm doing is adding enough to cover inside the edge. This part here, okay? So, when I do the incisive edge, I brush downwards, okay? Because I'm trying to fill up the gaps here. Alright? Always check from the side. You always check from the side. You always check from the top. Any excess, what you do, you wipe. You use your paintbrush again, wipe the edge. Wipe the edge. Okay? So far, does anyone have any questions whatsoever? You're doing all good so far, right? Okay. So we're at the stage right now. You check the edge. It's a little bit fat here, isn't it? So I'm going to go off camera again. Give me a moment. It's very fat. That's better. That's better. Okay? Then I'm going to let it go. Now, The key trick is to make sure you do all of the adjustments before you cure as much as possible. You want to minimize the amount of time you spend adjusting after you cure. Okay, now that's done, I'm going to start by doing some polishing and adjustment. But before I do anything, what did I say? This is where we have to use glycerin, right? Now, if you are rich, you buy this. Okay? This is a very expensive glycerin. If you want to save money, you buy this. I'm not joking. This is what I use. My recommendation is you do not ask your nurse, give me the KY jelly. You make sure that you put the KY jelly in a syringe and you say glycerin. You understand? Yes? Good. But today, GC is very generous, so he bought me the expensive one. Now, I've cured this already. We're going to cover this with glycerin to block the oxygen to make sure this is cured properly. Understand? And we do a final cure. Remember, the oxygen inhibition layer, so the layer where it is not cured, can be up to 40 microns. Okay? So far so good? Okay, now. Yes, can I have some more of this? This is a reason why I don't like to use this, because for some reason they make it blue and it affects the final results a little bit because of the blue dye, but it's okay, I'm not too fussed. Okay? Good. Now, at this stage, we can do some shape modeling, okay? Shape modifying. The shape modifying starts off making sure that the contour here, which is the tooth I'm trying to copy, matches the contour here. If I feel that, like say for example, it's a little high, I need to adjust this first. Yeah? Because this is a bit high, I need to adjust this first. Alright, so I'm going to do that. What I use is, I use this soft flex disc, okay? So, okay, so you make sure the contours, you make sure that this one is not like fat in certain areas and it's not there, okay? Then you want to make sure that the incisor edge is correct. My incisor edge is close enough, so I'm going to leave that there, okay? Then we talk about embrasures, right? So if you look at this tooth is very curved. You look at that, that's very sharp. So I'm going to adjust that next. Is that better? Yes? Okay. So now that's done, then we play with line angles. How do we draw line angles? Line angles are basically, if you look at the light here, can you see the light, the line here? Can you see that? That's the line angle. So what I do is that I would use a pencil, just the side of the pencil, to mark where the line angle is. So this is the tooth I'm trying to copy. This is the tooth that I just did a while ago. And what I see is that the line angles don't match, right? Can you see the pencil mark? So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to draw where I want my line angle to be. Okay? And then what I do is I take the disc and I adjust it so it matches. Okay? So once you're done there, you take an alcohol wipe and you use the alcohol wipe to wipe the surface of the tooth. Now, this is why the glycerin is crucial. Imagine if you used a pencil to draw the line angles and you didn't put glycerin. What's going to happen? Your composite is going to break. Alright? So in this case, you have to use the glycerin in order to make sure that the pencil marks, they don't stay. Are we doing okay so far? Right? So the only thing I would probably say is I want to adjust this a little bit here. This is where I do the polishing. I'm going to be off camera just for a second, sorry. But so far, does anyone have any questions whatsoever? All good? Give me a moment. Something like that. I normally spend a little bit more time, but I'm running short of time at the moment. Okay, so I'm going to be as quick as I can. something like that. So it looks much better already. So we know for a fact, based on this, right, if you can click the line angles one more time, this is the tooth I'm trying to copy. I think it's similar enough. Okay? Maybe if I want to, I can maybe do a little bit more there, but I'm going to call this similar enough. Alright? So again, you wipe off any excess. Now comes to the polishing. For polishing, I use 3 burrs, just 3 burrs. One, 2, 3. Okay? This burr is a comet burr. Later on, I will show you the code for the comet burr. So this is a diamond burr attached to a slow speed. This too is a polisher by Eve. E-V-E. Okay? Eve. Diapon polisher. I can't remember. Do we still have the box for the Eve? Can you have this? Thank you. This. Okay? Diapon twist. This is all I need for my polishing, okay? Now, what you do is that I start with the diamond, because the diamond burr is there to level the plane. So say, for example, if there's any final micro irregularities with this, I can still use this to kind of level it. Now, okay? Every step you do, you have to make sure you use alcohol wipe, okay? The alcohol wipe does 2 things. It gets rid of the powder or the debris, and also makes sure that you don't have any residual monomers that's left that can affect the polish, yeah? So you do one. The second thing that you do with this one, you basically create the groove. You see the grooves over here, you want to copy that as much as you can. Now, when you do the grooves, the mistake a lot of people make is this. They go no. It's basically left, right, left. You're rubbing it in, yeah? So you're creating the grooves. You see that? So you're recreating the grooves with that. Now the last thing I'm going to do is to create the pericomondas, these lines, yeah? Okay? Wow. So far so good. Now, Then I'm going to do a final polish. Now the polisher has a pink and a white. We start with the pink first. Now, ideally you want to do this at slow speed. So around, if you're using an electric handpiece, you're looking around 8,000 to 8 to 10,000 RPM. Yeah? Now, if you look at this, look at how it spins at this direction. Yeah, it spins at this direction. If you want to polish, you want to do this. Okay? You want to polish like this. You don't polish like that. If you polish like that, you're going to destroy this really quickly. So I'm going to go this direction, this direction, this direction. Now, because I've created the pericarditis, if I